Hello and welcome. I played a lot of video games in 2022, but I didn't really finish that many. And you may have already seen the video, which will be right here at the end of this video, if you haven't, of the top 10 games I didn't finish in 2022. But I did finish a few, and I want to talk about them because I do have a top 10 this year, and I love to talk about games that I love. We're going to do these in order. I'm going to avoid spoilers as much as possible in each segment, and the timestamps will be, of course, in the description and in a pinned comment in the comment section down below. We're going to start off with number 10, Guild Wars 2. You may say, Trey, that didn't come out this year. End of Dragons did, but I didn't finish End of Dragons. I didn't get there. So, as much as I probably enjoyed Guild Wars, and not even probably, I did enjoy Guild Wars 2 more than some of the games on this list. I didn't feel like I could put it any higher than 10 because I didn't get to the content that came out this year. So that's not really fair. But it is still a game that I played this year and absolutely loved. And theoretically, I put more time into it than I did almost anything else on this list except for the top 3, I believe. I adore Guild Wars 2, and it definitely will be higher up next year on the list because I'm going to keep playing it, and there'll be new content that comes out in 2023 that I can talk about. But I just didn't feel like it was fair to put it much higher than 10 just because, again, the stuff that I played didn't come out this year. So that's my cheat number 10, but I was going to put Guild Wars 2 on this list somewhere, and please look forward to next year when you hear me talk about it even more because I love Guild Wars 2. It's such a fun, cool MMO with so much cool stuff coming all the time. Really love the combat, really love the story, really like the music. World's pretty cool too. Gonna definitely be playing more of that soon. Number 9. I had to count my own fingers there to make sure I held up the right ones. I might be working too much. Number 9 is Pokemon Legends Arceus. It took me most of the year to beat Arceus because other games came out that I wanted to play. But I really enjoy the way that Pokemon Legends Arceus plays. It plays very differently to any other Pokemon game. You have free reign in the world to run around and catch Pokemon like wow. Just throw Pokeballs like crazy if you want to. But the combat's a little weird. Levels don't seem to matter near as much as they do in traditional Pokemon games or even in a lot of the offshoot Pokemon games. However, the actual world exploration, filling out the Pokedex, all of that is really, really fun. And I found just about all of it to be a blast. I know some people are mad because the graphics don't look as good as they could. And sure, they probably should look better. But I don't really care about graphics personally. And I found the game just to be really fun to play, all told. The story was all right. I thought it had some cool moments and some cool stuff going on, but it didn't necessarily super grab me, and I do think it slowed down gameplay a little bit, but right towards the end, it ramps up and gets really cool, and I liked that a lot. Number 8 is SD Gundam Battle Alliance. I am a huge Gundam fan, and being able to just dive into this and get all kinds of cool crossover dialogue with my favorite Gundam characters already would have put this game on the top 10 probably, but it also has a really solid combat system where the 3 different roles feel very different and even individual suits in each role feel really different. I wish they'd done a little bit more to differentiate the melee combos of each unit, but at the same time, being able to use your different sub-weapons to mix in your combos means that it's actually a lot deeper of a combat system than I think people realize, and I had a blast working my way through it. It was a lot of fun to play, and I'm hoping they make a sequel because I really did enjoy my time with it. Number 7 is Tunic. Tunic is such a cute game. It fulfills that role of, hey, here is a really cool world with a lot of exploration to do, and we're not going to explain any of it to you unless you find these manual pages. And I absolutely love that. It's so cool. It was really hard for me to rank Tunic because I wanted to put Tunic at number 3, but I think I enjoyed a couple other games more this year. But Tunic was an absolutely incredible game, knocked it out of the park, and I really, really enjoyed my time with it. And at the end of the day, that's what video games are for, right? I sat down with Tunic and just had a really good time. Number 6 is Final Fantasy Origins Strangers of Paradise. And you might have heard me talk about this game all year long. I really enjoyed playing this game. I spent a lot of time just slowly working my way through, doing it a level at a time. And that was really fun. Just really digging into that combat system, figuring out what I wanted to do with it, and reaching the end of that game. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I loved everything about that game. Except the DLC, and that's why it can't be any higher, unfortunately. because I do think that the DLC jumping up to a huge difficulty leap is not cool, man. I don't have time to play through that whole game again just to get to the DLC, but I really, really enjoyed my time with it. And at the end of the day, I'm not just going to repeat what I was about to say, because that would just be repeating what I said at Tunic. The combat system alone was worth playing, but the story is what kept me going. The story of Jack was actually really, really cool. Number 5 is Pokemon Violet. Now, I didn't play Scarlet. I played Violet, so I'm going to put specifically Violet on here. But you can probably slot Scarlet in here as well. Most of the time, they're about even. I know a lot of people are going to be upset with this one because they don't think these games should even exist. But despite a couple of glitches that I did have, I had no major performance problems with this. And it was the most fun I've had with a Pokemon game in a very long time. Not having to rely on having a surfer or a flyer meant that I didn't have a water or flying type in my party. It meant that I could mix around types a whole lot more than usual. And it meant that I was able to do a lot of cool stuff build-wise that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do. This generation also has a lot of my favorite Pokemon designs. And I really like monster collecting games, and Pokemon just happens to be one of the best of them. Now, whether people love it or not, that's for them to decide. But for me, I love Pokemon. And Pokemon Violet is some of the best Pokemon's been in a long time. An actual really cool story with really cool navigation around the world, even if the world itself is kind of bare bones. I really, really enjoyed exploring this game and moving through this game, catching Pokemon, battling champions, and taking on the different stories. And I find it really interesting that the stories are one of the things that kept me going. This is just a really fun Pokemon game. And again, I'm sorry if you have a lot of the issues and hate this game, or if you've never played it and hate this game because you've seen a lot of the issues, but there's a really good game buried underneath those issues, and I wish they weren't there, because I think if they weren't, this would be a game that we'd be universally praising. Number 4 is Sonic Frontiers. What a cool game this is, man. I love Sonic. I'm that weird guy that likes Sonic and the Black Knight. Sonic and the Secret Rings has some cool stuff to it, right? I love Sonic. And Sonic Frontiers is such a cool direction to take Sonic. You could have told me, and people did, hey, open world Sonic. And I said, I don't know about that. But it's really good. The cyber levels allow you to play old school Sonic as well, with a couple nice changes. I think that other than a little bit of trouble with the platforming because of the camera, I think this game is really, really good. And although there are a couple chapters that get a little long, they're all rewarded with really cool boss fights that I was so hyped to get to each time. Sonic Frontiers is an incredible game with an incredible soundtrack that I still listen to all the time. It's already become my most played music of the year. I love this game. Such a cool game, and 100% recommend it to anybody, Sonic fan or not. Such a cool game. Number 3 is Vampire Survivors. This should come as no surprise to people that have been watching the channel for a little while. Much like Strangers in Paradise, I've been talking about this game for a long time, and I just can't stop playing it. I've now unlocked every character. I've unlocked every weapon, and I just want to keep going, man. I just want to keep going. I know there'll be more DLC coming, so I'm trying to put it on the back burner so I don't burn myself out before the DLC comes out. But man, do I love Vampire Survivors. What a cool game that really felt rewarding to move the progression list up on. Every time I'm doing a run, I'm progressing something. It just always be progressing, and it felt incredible to do so in Vampire Survivors. What a great game. Number 2 is Elden Ring. I really love Elden Ring. If it weren't for the game that took the first place spot, Elden Ring was going to be my game of the year. And I know a lot of people are getting tired of the Souls style, hey, here's an open world with a lot of mysteries to explore of a ruined kingdom, figure it out. Tunic did that this year too, and it's great. But I'm not tired of that yet. That is, Ender Lilies did it, Tunic did it, the Soul series does it, old school Zelda did it. That is one of my favorite ways to experience a story. I guess Breath of the Wild did it too, of this is a ruined kingdom. Try and piece together what happened. And Elden Ring ties that in with what I think is the best world to explore in 2023 and maybe in video games. Such a cool world to explore with very different locales that aren't just, hey, here's a swamp, here's a volcano. It's, yeah, no, this swamp is made of blood. There's so much to see. And around every corner, a great, cool new sight to find in there. something evocative, something really cool. And I could just go down the list of like, hey, I had this moment where I opened a chest and I woke up in the blood rot swamp, right? In a cave that led to that. Hey, I had this great moment where I was exploring this underground city and I found an ant or like a bug mantis creature on top of an ant riding around with a long pole, a catch pole almost. So cool. Ruined cities underneath, deep underneath the ground. There's so much cool stuff to find in Elden Ring. And the story itself, I found myself going, I kind of don't care, even though I do think the story is pretty solid, just because at the end of the day, what I wanted was the exploration. And Elden Ring gave it to me, along with a really cool combat system in my mind. I like Elden Ring a lot. And were it not for the game that took number one, it would be number one. But number one, my personal game of the year, goes to Xenoblade Chronicles 3. What else can I say about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 I haven't already said? The story is incredible. It, again, aligns to a lot of my personal philosophies and tackles themes that are very important to me as a person. And so, of course, that was going to resonate with me, right? It has an incredible cast of characters, an incredible soundtrack, an incredible world to explore, a great combat system. I think combat system could be a little bit deeper, but at the same time, I really enjoyed what I got from it. And at the end of the day, you give me a job system and a story like that and a soundtrack like that and a world like that, and you throw me in there, I'm going to have a good time. And I did. I really enjoyed Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and it's a game that I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. A Step Away and Where We Belong just like play in my head, but also it's the characters. It's that little moment at the end where Tyon hits his knees. You know, it's I don't want to spoil too much for people, but it's just a great game that I think everybody should play. It's really, really good. Let me know your thoughts on this top 10 in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum the game of the year has to offer.